the freedom you will feel by being your authentic self, by being out, will be far more liberating than the rejection by a few individuals who cannot get past their own prejudices and ignorance.
Dejana, first of all, thank you so much on agreeing to do this interview with us. It's been a great pleasure, as well as immense opportunity for us to have you as you on the interview. Thank you so much for that. I think now we'll start with the interview. So Dejana, for many in our community, the journey to understanding one's true identity can be quite a complex path. So can you please share your story of realizing your identity with us, and were there any specific moments or experience that helped you feel comfortable embracing yourself as a lesbian woman?
Okay, Ale, first I'd like to thank TCHRD for including me in this initiative, which I really applaud you for doing so, and also to all the viewers. 미야타리 인지나는 슈고에 긴제 큐스슈나 삼삼 깨지 돈소테디 인지 인게나라 데스레 하도 나를 춘준의 인지랍도 신자 제zan가 공개매 없이 슈에이야 페베투 세니어 돈졸라. So I think in terms of realizing my own identity, I'll share a story that my late Bala used to share with me when I was looking through some family pictures. I saw a very black and white old picture of me, probably around 3 years of age, no more than 4, he said. And I was dressed like a nun, saffron robe type of clothing. And I said, why am I dressed like that? And he said, oh, you liked to be dressed like a nun when you were little. And my friends, my uncles used to tease me saying, do you want to be a nun when you grow up? And I used to say without hesitation, no. And my father said that they would just teasingly ask me, well, why not? And I would reply saying, because I don't want to be a servant or subservient to a monk. So, and to me, I guess that was sort of, even without remembering that, my vehement objection to being, seen as a girl that is going to be subservient, perhaps started early on. I knew I didn't fit into sort of the normal definition of a girl. I grew up completely tomboy. I knew I didn't want to be limited by what girls can do. So I grew up in Kathmandu and Nepal, and I was among the first to learn how to ride bicycle, learn to drive, first girl, certainly among the Tibetan. And I would play with boys mostly. And so I developed this level of confidence to do things that girls didn't do at the time. And I remember while I played with some of these Nepali boys, however, I did also experience conflicted feelings because there were a number of incidences where they exposed themselves sexually to me, which I found to be very uncomfortable, of course, even at that early age. And so that sort of made me feel uncomfortable enough that I was finding myself veering towards, women or girls for emotional intimacy and trust. And so my identity as an out lesbian really didn't shape until I was in college in the U.S. But that feeling of trusting girls more than boys was very early on. And I think that it began to shape my gender identity, my sexual identity. And coming out to my parents was very significant, obviously, particularly after a long period of being, fearfully closeted for many, many years. Coming out to my parents was a huge burden off my back. And so that is truly when I would say I came into my own, once I came out to my parents. And so that's when I finally began to feel comfortable enough to embrace myself as a lesbian. And so that was sort of the moment of really recognizing and embracing my own identity as a lesbian.
Thank you so much, Dechen, for sharing your childhood story and the memory. So now moving onward, I want you to ask, growing up or starting your career, so was there anyone in the Tibetan community that you would look up to, who would inspire you? If not, how did it feel to be the person that is clearing the path for others? And what did those experiences teach you about the importance of the work that you do with ACHA and the community right now?
So when I was grappling with my own sexual identity, there were no role models in the Tibetan community for me. I didn't know about the word lesbian. I certainly didn't know about gay and LGBTIQA, all those letters at the time. I just knew myself that there was something different. I had different emotions from sort of the other girls. So in terms of clearing the path, I felt, I had my feelings of fearfulness of being rejected, anxious about how it would be to come out in a community where I didn't know anybody else like me. But I also felt a strong desire to be authentic to myself and create a safe space for others who I knew there must be others, in our community. I just didn't know who they were. And I wanted to create safe spaces for them, just like I was craving a safe space for myself. So in order to do that, I knew I had to be authentic and truthful to the community, to my parents, and most importantly to myself. Mm-hmm. So that was why I remember I came to America in 1985 as a student, so it's been a long time. But I remember an event here just around Beijing Olympics, 2008, probably a little before that. There was a talk in the Tibetan community with speakers, and they talked about identity as a Tibetan. And one of the speakers spoke about multiple identities that we carry as human beings, but in this context as a Tibetan. And it was in that talk where, by that time, my being a lesbian was sort of an open secret in the Bay Area community. People were whispering behind my back, like, often happens. But nobody actually talked to me directly. And so, and my friends were getting a bit harassed or, prompted to, they were asking them, oh, is she a lesbian? Not asking me directly, but so since there was so much open secretness about my gender identity for some reason, I decided to come out in that forum, in that public talk, as a during the Q&A, to make the point that we have multiple identities and we have to embrace each of those identities if we are to feel self-liberated and fight for a larger cause such as Tibetan freedom. If we don't feel liberated within ourselves, then where is that confidence? Where is that energy, and where is that acceptance going to come from to fight for the larger cause? And so in that forum is when I came out, and I guess that maybe was part of clearing the path, for the newer generation or others who were closeted. And it was also at that time that MACHIC, the nonprofit based in DC, was starting to provide a platform for discussion on gender-based violence and, LGBT. And so I was invited to hold a forum workshop on that. And it was amazing, both comforting and to me, that many young people came up and shared their stories of living in a secret, closeted life and struggling to, embrace themselves, both within their families and the community. So yeah, that was sort of my experience. And I soon became a confidant to some of them in their early stages of sort of coming out. But sadly, it sounds like from what you said earlier, there are still people who feel uncomfortable speaking about their gender identity in public. And, I empathize with that struggle because we all have gone through that. I think the important thing is that the key message I have is, that what made me realize that living my authentic self is key to embracing myself, and also knowing that we deserve better, right? And that everybody deserves better and not to be marginalized or discriminated against or mistreated. And that's sort of clearing the path message that I offered, I experienced, and I wish for all the others who are still struggling and are closeted.
Thank you, Dechen. That was really an inspiring story that, in fact, when you were coming out, there was no role model for you to look up, but then you were clearing the path and showing up as a role model for the younger generation. I completely agree when you said that while we are achieving the bigger objective of the Tibetan independence, but then, the embracing your identity is also one of the key things that we have to do while moving forward with our bigger cause. So, Dejala, the first two questions were more about your personal journey. Now, moving onward with your identity and the leadership, I want you to ask, throughout your career, from counseling survivors to the co-founding ACHA, you have worked to build a safe space for our people. So how has your own lived experience as a lesbian woman shaped your understanding of the word safety? And in your view, what does a safe space need to have for a queer Tibetan woman to feel truly protected and seen in our Tibetan community?
Thank you for that question. In my experience, safety was of two kinds for me. One was my internal sense of safety, and one is the external safety. The internal is something that, I had control over myself, in the sense that I needed to feel safe in my own gender identity first. I struggled for many years doubting, in self-doubt, which is often what we end up doing, self-doubting and wondering what is wrong with me. And so I didn't feel safe within my own skin in the early stages. And that was something that I had to overcome. The relationship of that safety to the external sense of safety was my community, my family, my friends, right? Mm-hmm. And was there a safe space for me to come out? And that's where, when there were no role models, it was scary, because, well, what happens if I get completely rejected? Like, where's then my safety space, right? Mm-hmm. So those two are something that I think, I have to acknowledge and grapple with. And fortunately, I overcame all that eventually. And I think what a safe space is, to feel truly protected, is a level of acceptance that comes from education and exposure of the Tibetan community to experiences of LGBTIQ people, individuals. And on that note, I feel like what you're doing through TCHRD, through this particular initiative of documenting the stories of LGBTIQ Tibetans and exposing the LGBTIQ Tibetans to this reality that the rest of us live in, is really, really important, to develop acceptance. Although acceptance is one of the key foundations of Tibetan Buddhism, we don't tend to practice that if we are not comfortable with people's gender identity, it seems. So I think your initiative is truly important. In my case, acceptance, the external safety criteria is also acceptance from your parents. To me, that was pivotal. I never felt more in my own skin than when my parents finally knew from me. That was really important. To feel the sense of safety, security, and self-esteem. Now, that doesn't happen for everybody, and it's unfortunate, but I think the wider education and consciousness raising that these kinds of initiatives are doing in the community will hopefully, create an environment that is more accepting of this gender diversity that we bring. And then, of course, in the long run, finding a partner who shares the same values and who shares your traditional culture and, self-acceptance and authenticity is really another safety issue, criteria that has made a huge difference for me.
Thank you for that. So moving onward, you have held a significant leadership roles, including serving as the president of the Tibetan Association of Northern California. So in our community, leadership often requires deep-rooted traditions. So how did you balance your responsibility to the community while remaining authentically yourself? So what were challenges of being a lesbian leader in these spaces?
Yeah, so I just want to add one more safety point to the earlier question, which is, having friends who accept you for who you are is so truly life-changing. Mm-hmm. For me, it was. And I'm forever indebted to my friends who knew early on, before I could even tell my parents, and they embraced me without any judgment. And so I think that also creates a sense of safety because, we relate to our friends very much. So now going to your question, I think with the balancing responsibility, community, and remaining authentic to our tradition, I mean, many of us, I did certainly grew up with very deep-rooted tradition, values that are based on Tibetan tradition, and I respect that. What I find difficult to respect is discriminatory behaviors that come from people's prejudices and ignorance, right? Particularly around gender, sexuality. I balance what I'm doing is how I live my life is by doing the work that's needed in the community while being authentic to myself. So coming out was very important as part of that process. And I think coming out was also another way of saying to the community, we exist in this community. And at the same time, we are as authentically Tibetan as, any non-lesbian. And I think I have been able to sort of prove that by my work within the Tibetan community, right from, as a student intern in the health department to, working at the Delek Hospital, working inside Tibet for Seva Foundation and Global Fund for Women, traveling in all three regions of Tibet, and also working as a volunteer for Tank and also the president of Tank, as you mentioned. So, and then, of course, the work with the survivors of domestic and gender-based violence through ACHA. So I think showing, being part of an active part of the community while honoring the gender identity that I embrace and making it clear to people that I'm living my life the way I believe, and that it doesn't have to interfere with me being a Tibetan or being part of the community. It hasn't been easy because I have definitely experienced pushback, primarily from men in the community for addressing issues like gender-based violence through ACHA. And so going to the challenges of being a lesbian leader, I think the challenges were not just because I am a lesbian leader at the time, but more likely because I was a woman who wanted to take on uncomfortable issues such as domestic violence and LGBTIQ rights. And these are generally swept under the rug in our community, right? So I think perhaps, of course, being a lesbian in the community definitely added to the challenges, I would think, but it was more about a strong woman coming out with issues that the community actually didn't want or feel ready or comfortable to address. And so my experience was that the Tibetan men who were giving me the pushback were clearly threatened by my addressing sensitive issues out in the open and providing support to services for survivors of gender-based violence or domestic violence within our communities. And it went so far as to being summoned to the board and asked to dismantle ACHA. And we lost many women members as a result of that intimidating meeting. But despite that, or in spite of that, through ACHA, we have been able to and continue to support survivors of domestic violence within the Himalayan community. And I think that is testament to, what it takes to be a leader, not just a lesbian leader, but to be a strong woman leader.
Thank you, Dejana. So, in our Tibetan community, we often find that the label for LGBTQIA plus identity actually comes from the West. But in your experience, is there any difference how you feel or express your identity when you're speaking Tibetan versus English? So, how can we begin to find a Tibetan way to talk about our hearts that doesn't merely just feel like a translation from another language or culture?
So, I said earlier, I didn't know anything about like lesbian or LGBTIQ until I came to the US. But what I do realize in hindsight is that, labels may be from the West, but the language of love is universal. And for me, the LGBT love that is no exception to any other love. We also experiencing that same emotion and intimacy, just not with the opposite gender. I think for me, Tibetan doesn't have appropriate words to talk about lesbian identity, and that's why we are speaking English today. I think, and the translation for lesbian, I remember early on, it was like pulumulu or, women loving other women or something awkward of that, something like that, which was awkward to say in Tibetan. Mm-hmm. And so, and I also feel like it doesn't do justice to the concept of what it means being a lesbian. That is, self-determined as a woman, not confined by the patriarchal definition of what a girl or a woman should be, often branching into professions or activities that were not traditionally female. Like I mentioned, I grew up tomboy, riding bicycle, driving car when no girl was seen doing that. Mm-hmm. And being part of a lesbian culture, which includes so many other things like music, art, writing, activism, and fighting for rights and self-determination as an individual, but also as a community of LGBT. And those are directly related to our larger fight for rights and self-determination within the Tibetan context. So I think being a lesbian to me is more than just loving other women. It's really loving and embracing myself first, as a liberated, unapologetic woman first, and then an unapologetic lesbian. So I think that's where I feel like the Tibetan language to me is not sufficient to express that. And I'm not blaming the language. I'm taking responsibility for not having the language to say that in Tibetan. And you asked the second part of the question is how do we find the way, Tibetan way to talk about this that doesn't feel like a translation, right? I think language evolves with consciousness raising and experience. So therefore, what you're doing through this initiative, raising the public consciousness and awareness about experiences of LGBTIQ, contributes towards that paradigm shift and towards finding a Tibetan way, to talk about our experiences. And I feel that the gender identity is not culture specific, like I mentioned earlier. Even though it has been more suppressed in our culture, the challenge is one of finding the appropriate language to express issues of gender diversity. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, I think there is also nothing wrong with incorporating some English words into the language when we want to speak about gender identity or topics that make it easier to express our feelings and emotions in Tibetan using some of the English language if need be. So, but bottom line is, as more public consciousness increases through initiatives such as this, I think the language will begin to evolve as well.
Thank you. So, through your work with ACHA, have you seen LGBTQIA plus individuals in the Tibetan and the Himalayan community that face unique harm and exclusion, even violence due to their identity? If so, how can we better support and protect the LGBTQIA plus individuals as a part of the broader Tibetan movement?
I think the secrecy, and I'm speaking from my own experience, the secrecy is what closeted lesbians or closeted LGBTIQs, I think is most harmful, because we have to live in this dark space of not feeling safe, right? And fearing the truth from being exposed. I think that can tear us apart emotionally, for fear of being rejected or excluded or discriminated against, or even violence. I've certainly had my experience of being marginalized when my non-lesbian friends were being strongly urged to distance themselves from me, for fear of being labeled lesbians themselves, like as if it was some contagious disease, and sadly that is coming from a prejudice that's based on total ignorance. But fortunately, my friends are very strong, and they in their own right, and they were able to deal with that attempt. But there are many others who might not have that courage, or who might not have that confidence, and might actually lose connections with community due to prejudice and ignorance. So I think that kind of harm, exclusion, and emotional violence is definitely there for our community members. I think what can we do to support and protect them is education, raising consciousness, and talking about the issues. And for people like us who you have interviewed to come out and share, our stories. It's not easy. I can assure you of that. It's not easy. And not everybody wants to share their story either, and we have to respect that. But I think for the ones who are able to share, I think that is part of the education, broader education. And over the last 15 years, I'm so happy to see that, so many initiatives through TCHRD, through the Women Empowerment Desk, and through many of the other LGBTIQ Tibetans now forming, nonprofits and initiatives of their own, are helping towards this community conscious raising on this particular issue. And so we're definitely moving in the right direction. And I feel like we are, as a result, creating more protected and safe spaces. Probably still a lot more work to do, but it is a work in progress.
Thank you. Yes. So now the next question would be something that you have been emphasizing a lot earlier. So what is the one thing that you would tell a young Tibetan person who is currently navigating their sexuality and fears that they might lose their own connection with their heritage and the community if they come out? So what would be your advice for those people?
Well, I think an important thing to realize is that nobody can take away our connection to our Tibetan heritage. If you're born Tibetan, you are connected to your heritage just by the nature of that, but it's also up to you to what extent you want to stay connected with your heritage, right? So I feel like regardless of your gender identity, there's nobody who can take that away from you. It's like parents say, we'll give you the opportunity for education. No one can take that away from you, right? Everybody can take away money, well, all the other things, material things, but not your connection to your heritage or your education. So that's up to you. And the community, however, is more challenging, right? And what I can say is, yes, it takes a long time to get over that fear. But the freedom you will feel by being your authentic self, by being out, will be far more liberating than the rejection by a few individuals who cannot get past their own prejudices and ignorance. And so for me, I learned that the hard way by taking that step to, come out. And it's really interesting how, so many people that you don't expect will come out and embrace you for coming out. And maybe a few people who might reject you. And I think for me, it was worth the few rejections for the larger sort of feeling of being authentic and living the life that I am destined to live in this lifetime. So I think that's an important message. Additionally, I think I would say for the young Tibetan out there navigating your sexual identity in this day and age is that there are so many more role models in our community. Our Tibetan community of LGBTIQ members are growing, and I think it's not as lonely a journey as it was, I think. But again, that being said, I do want to honor the fact that individual journeys can be very different for each individual, and while we think we have many role models, it may not necessarily be the appropriate role model for an individual who's struggling. So, but we still have a larger community of LGBT and more of us who are out. And so I think that hopefully can create a safe space for people to come out. And the community has greater exposure to LGBTIQ as more Tibetans settle in the West, as people in Dharamsala like yourselves, are doing more education in the community. Our community as a whole, I think, is forced to reckon with this reality of LGBT Tibetans in our community. And so I think that is definitely something that's there and will get better, hopefully, through these initiatives. And for the young Tibetan closeted lesbians or LGBTIQ members, we have a larger community to embrace them.
Thank you so much. So coming to the last question of today's series, I want you to ask Dechen, you have been a powerful and very vocal about the advocate for our community safety. So we remember your last contribution to TCHRD campaign on the gender-based violence, where you emphasize that the real change must come from our leaders. And you also argue that the elected leaders and officials have a duty to create a clear policy that protects all the members of our community. So what is your message to our leadership and newly elected parliamentarians? What is your message and policy recommendation that they should create to ensure like safer space for the LGBT plus community in our Tibetan community? Yes.
Yeah, that's a very timely question, given that we're approaching the final election on Sunday for parliamentarians. Yeah, I think definitely our elected leaders have a very important role. At the highest leadership level, I would say the Tibetan Constitution, which we call the Charter of Tibetans in Exile, could be amended, and at the more local leadership levels, each organization, community organization, has bylaws that could be amended as well. And by amended, I mean to include anti-discrimination based on gender identity clauses. That is missing right now. For instance, in the Tibetan Constitution, Article 9 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of, and this is a quote, of birth, sex, race, religion, language, lay or ordained, social origin, rich or poor. There's no mention of gender identity. And so perhaps that is something that can be amended as the new parliament reviews the Constitution. I think it's an important category to have in that charter, and in order to create a protected space for Tibetan LGBTIQ members. Moreover, that kind of change at the highest level would also include debate on this issue in a parliamentarian setting at the highest level, and help hopefully raise the community consciousness again and education, and hopefully leading to acceptance of LGBTIQ Tibetans. Another recommendation is for elected leaders to be more visible participants within LGBTIQ workshops and initiatives. I think a lot of the gender sensitization workshops are so important for the employees, but it's also crucial for the leaders to have that kind of awareness raising workshop. And one last thing is, all of this awareness raising is so much easier when you start early on. And I think, the education of our young Tibetans in the schools, so the Department of Education would have, significant role in inviting Tibetan LGBT community members to classrooms, through Zoom, whatever, to share the stories of LGBT Tibetans, so that our young Tibetans are exposed to gender identity, gender sensitization much, much earlier on. And I think that is a real roadmap also towards a broader acceptance of diversity within our community. So those are the things that come to mind. I'm sure there are many others. And finally, I would just like to say that, I really thank you all at TCHRD and the Women's Empowerment Desk and all the other Tibetan LGBTIQ members who've spoken, who are actively engaged in promoting public consciousness on this topic. I think I'm almost 60 now, and I've come from, a journey of feeling insecure and anxious and judgmental about myself through this journey of finding my sexual identity, toward finally feeling content and secure and at ease with who I am, flaws and all. And I wish so much for many of the Tibetan LGBT and particularly lesbians out there who are living in fear to have the same. And we can only do that as a whole community to embrace them when they finally are ready to come out. So I want to thank you for being part of this community of acceptance and encouraging love among all, because LGBTs are everywhere. It's not a Western thing, and the sooner we embrace everybody, the more strength we will have in our community to fight the bigger battles.
So thank you so much, Dechen Lao, for sharing your experience and insights with us. It's truly been an enlightening and enriching conversation, and we deeply appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Dechen Lao.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Also.
Namaste.